Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby.
Rugby. Today, Six Nations fan forum. Let's go.
Well, you said it perfectly. Let's
roll it.
actually look a bit different because we're not filming on Zoom. We're on StreamYard for this episode. We're going to chat Six Nations. Jake, shut up. You're taking my shine. Jake, you'll probably do most of the talking because you're sitting here with a South African and a Kiwi, and we're talking about the Six Nations. Right?
The quality start to the video, gents. Good job.
Yeah, it is proper quality. Listen, we're not going to do our predictions yet in terms of week one or anything. We'll have another fan forum later in the week. We're just going to chat about the Six Nations and kind of what's our expectations. Jake, how's the Six Nations hype in the UK? First and foremost, how are you doing? I mean, rather ask that.
I'm good. I'm good, thank you, Mr. Casual. I'm good. I'm looking forward to next weekend. Not very happy after the last weekend, but never mind. How's our friend Aidan here?
I'm good. I'm ready to talk about topics I'm highly qualified to speak on.
Aidan, while you were in New Zealand and everything, have you always followed the Six Nations, or have you just kind of recently?
I mean, I've always sort of followed the results. I've watched highlights and stuff, but I never used to sit down and watch, all the games because they were on at 7 a.m. in the morning or 6 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. But obviously, since I've moved over here, I've watched every Six Nations game since moving. So this will be my third. Been to the pubs for a few. It's brilliant. The atmosphere is great all over the city. Some of the pubs are packed. So, the atmosphere for the Six Nations is incredible. I do like that about the tournament. And I'm looking forward this year, especially because I'm probably more invested now than I ever have been. So bring it on.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because it's always been on a reasonable time for us out here in South Africa, but I never really followed it until we really.
You look like Sid the Slob.
He looks terrible. I feel sometimes we film this, right? And it just feels like we bully Jake a bit.
He was staring at the camera
he brings it on himself, to be fair, right? And then I feel like people are going to call us out for bullying Jake, and then I just read the comments, and it's like they're just piling on, right?
This is just my face. What do you want me to do with this? Okay, that's fine.
Put on a mask, brother.
Yeah. No, but the Six Nations was always at a reasonable time for us. But since we've moved to the European, the Champions Cup and the URC and stuff, I've really gotten invested into this thing. So I'm really excited for it. But the thing is, for us, there hasn't been so much hype around it, obviously, in terms of broadcasting and ads and stuff on the TV. Has it been popping there, Jake?
I don't know. I've not. Not loads of people talking about it to me, if I'm honest. I mean, a lot of my friends don't talk about it, so I don't talk about it with my friends, really. It's more just online.
Jake doesn't have friends. Don't stop it. Jake, we are your only friends. What are you talking? Obviously, we talk about it.
No, Aidan's not my friend. But anyway, no, it's just I've not really talked about much. Maybe a little bit of work, but I'm trying to get a Six Nations fantasy league. But other than that, it's not really a load of hype on my end. I don't know what Aidan you think walking about in South London, but I'm not having loads of hype, to be honest, for around me.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen pubs advertise at the show and the games and stuff, but I don't really watch regular, terrestrial TV. So I'm not watching the ads or anything. So YouTube channels, I mean, I obviously follow a lot of rugby channels. So I've seen podcasts talk about it, Rugby Pass talk about it. Dan Cole, Ben Young's their podcast talking about it. So, I see it everywhere. Squidge Rugby is obviously making a series out of it. So there's lots of people talking about it. It's just, like ads and stuff I don't really watch. So
yeah, I was just wondering because we don't see too much of it, but obviously it doesn't really involve us that much. Let's go to something interesting that came out this week. Full Contact been cancelled. So there's no third season of it. I feel like they sold himself a bit short with it in terms of season one, especially. When season two even being released? I'm not even sure. But I feel like they could have gone a lot more in depth. If you look at Chasing the Sun and how successful that is, you look at, for instance, what's the Amazon Prime documentaries about the footballing teams. That's pretty good. Even, for instance, Drive to Survive. Now, if you compare that to Full Contact, I'm just like, oh, Netflix didn't do a great job necessarily in giving a proper product for Full Contact. And we're talking about growth of the game. I thought that was a great idea, but the execution of it was terrible. And that's kind of what had the low ratings, not necessarily that there aren't enough eyes on the game. Would you guys tend to agree with something like that?
I'm just not having it. I'm not having this. Like, they released the first one like just before the last year's Six Nations, and they said, according to the ratings, it's done well and well enough to do a second series. So they filmed last year's Six Nations, and now they're going to cancel it recording a third one because of the ratings from the first one. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just contradictory. They're releasing it on Wednesday, 29th of Jan, Wednesday. Now, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of people who watch it are working. And once you're watching the current Six Nations this year, you don't care about watching last year's. Why is this not being released 2 weeks ago when people give people to watch it, get hyped up for it after watching it? Like, oh, this year's Six Nations is in like a few days. But you said you're giving like 2 nights to watch it before the France-Wales one on the Friday. It's going to get shit ratings because of that, not because of the product. And, it's last year's Six Nations was incredible. The England-Ireland game, the France-Scotland controversy, Italy, France drawing, all of this stuff, Italy beating Scotland. There are so many great games, and they've absolutely fucked it. It could have done well if they released it a week and a half ago, and they might have had actual reason to go in and do a third one. And it's a joke. The whole thing is a joke from Netflix.
There was more than enough content for them to create a proper season 2. Like, if you look at all the controversies, as you just mentioned, I would have been glued to it, watching it. Like, I don't know.
Some of the adverts look great, Like, they do look good. And yeah, I had so many storylines. There's going to be a whole episode around that England-Ireland game, you've got to imagine. And the last-minute drop goal is probably the best ending to a game we've seen in a long time, international game. Maybe other than the Ireland-South Africa one. Sorry, Casual. But yeah, it's just they've absolutely fucked it.
Yeah. Aiden, you have anything to add to that?
Not really. It's more, as Jake says, it's a timing issue. Like, why are you releasing what's going to be 6 episodes, one for each team, 2 days before the first game? What, people are going to have to watch 3 episodes a night? Like, some people can't do that.
Yeah, it's just stupid planning. The same with the news that I just heard. That so obviously we just use one streaming service and you get everything on there, all types of sports in terms of rugby, football, MMA, whatever, right? Name it, everything on one side. I just heard free Six Nations is gone out of the UK as well. Like, you also have to pay for a streaming service now to watch that, where you could have got more eyes on the product with it being free on like free TV in the UK. Is that true?
It's being reported that TNT will show it from next year. They apparently they've bid 100 million, which is 10 million more than ITV and BBC bid, and they've done it like forever. So
is ITV and BBC free? Is that free TV?
Yeah. So that it will be free this year, but then going forward, or at least for the next 3 years, it sounds like TNT are willing to pay more, and it's just, again, a joke.
But didn't TNT also get the broadcasting rights for the Champions Cup as well? Or was it them that lost the broadcasting?
No, they lost the right. They had the Premiership. They've lost the rights to Champions Cup this year, but they got the rights to the Autumn Nations. So it's difficult because TNT, I think, are the best, provide the best rugby coverage in the UK. Having the Autumn and the Six Nations might be enough to get a few people to subscribe, and then you might get more Premiership viewers, so it might help an English perspective.
Why don't they get one dedicated channel for all the rugby? Would have been so much better.
That won't work. But anyway, the thing is this just all short-termism thinking, because ultimately you're never going to get the potential 5 million viewers a BBC or ITV match can get. And it's just short-term thinking. They're not going to think about the next 30 years. They'll think about the next 3. That's what how these unions are operating right now.
just sounds a bit silly, to be fair.
Well,
Anyway.
It says, I just want to say, it says 100 million deal, so 10 million more than ITV and BBC over 3 years. So I'm guessing that's 3.3 million a year. And so let's make it 3.5. You have to split it between 7 nations, the Six Nations and CBC, so 7 partners. It's £500,000 extra a year for a union, which makes like £100 million. Just show it on the free-to-air BBC ITV. I don't understand it. It's a joke.
Yeah, obviously, for me, it's crazy because we find everything on one. Right? It just makes life so much easier. Everyone pays for the one, and you watch all your sport and everything on that. Now you got to pay. How many subscriptions do you have to pay to watch the Prem, the Champions Cup, Autumn Nations, and Six Nations?
3.
2.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What about the Sky ones?
Well, technically that's.
But that gives you the ability to watch every single game. Like you'll have the rights to every single game.
But it won't work because like all the football split on one. Like Premier Sports are different football, and then Sky and TNT have different football ones. So it's like you always can have lots of different broadcasters. It's never one channel. Like
my goodness. This is daylight robbery. Anyway, let's actually talk about the Six Nations. I want to go look into every single team and see what is the expectations of them going into this one. Aiden, I'm coming to you straight off the bat. Defending champions, Ireland, they've done it twice. I'm not sure if someone has done it three times in a row. I don't think someone has.
I don't know.
I'm 6, I don't think.
Can they do it? Aiden, can they do it?
Can they do it? Yes. Will they do it? I don't think so. I think, for me, obviously, the biggest advantage for Ireland at the moment is the draw. The draw benefits them massively. Their 2 hardest games are at home. They got England at home first, and then France at home. That's a huge advantage, even if they do play in a library like the Aviva. Home field advantage is nothing to scoff at, especially for an Irish team. I think the Autumn Nations, they definitely weren't as good as what we'd seen even previously in the year when they went to South Africa. They were much better. Autumn Nations, they looked a bit sloppier. They lost a game they probably didn't want to against New Zealand. They weren't great against Argentina, and they weren't great against Australia either. I think with obviously Farrell going out to coach the Lions, they have someone else coming in who's been around the block and been part of the system for a while. So it's not a huge change, but you got to feel like it's got to make a difference somehow. And coming off poor form and then bringing in someone a little newer, Simon Easterby, I think it is, right? I just don't see it happening. I just don't think they're as good as they were. And I think the ceiling of other teams, especially this year, are enough to topple them.
Do you reckon they could potentially drop to 3rd?
Yeah, it's one of those ones that they could they're equal chance of finishing 1st to 3rd. I think there's very equal possibility they win it. They could come 2nd or they could come 3rd, just depending on how it shakes up at the top. I sort of see it as one of those seasons where it's like a rock, paper, scissors of who beats who.
I've got Ireland to do 3 in a row. I think maybe they needed that Autumn Nations just to... I don't know. Maybe you need a bit of a tough patch to kind of go through, to go through and kind of find your way again. I look at the way that even Leinster played now. They were so close against, for instance, the Stormers, and a bunch of those guys play for Ireland. That was their second team. So the first team is better than those guys, right? I just don't see them losing, especially at the Viva. Obviously New Zealand beat them. But other than that, they haven't lost in 20 games there? It was a crazy record. And I don't expect them to all of a sudden lose one game against New Zealand, then lose there to potentially England and lose there against France. They'll know people are coming for them, but they also know they have a lot to play for. They've got a point to prove. And it's not totally new guys. I think they're such a well-drilled team in terms of what Andy Farrell's done over the past few years. That doesn't just go into the bin.
No, obviously not.
So, with Sheehan coming back as well, James Lowe getting some game time this weekend, I think Sam Prendergast has to take that 10 jersey for me. And I think they could be on fire again. I mean, look at what they did to France last season. And you're not going to, obviously Dupont is back and Intermark is back, but you're not going to tell me that was a full B team of France. And now they're playing them at home.
I know it's not like a full B team in France, but for me, I'm looking at, this is obviously my first time watching Champions Cup and seeing any of really the top 14 teams play. But if I'm looking at like position for position for the national French team versus, well, realistically Leinster, because most of the starting 15 are from Leinster. If you go through positions, I think the French are stronger through most positions 1 to 15 currently this season. On form,
but I think the system of Ireland's a lot better than the French.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that's where someone like Dupont and Intermac makes more of a difference. It's not necessarily the fact that they're like world-class players. It's that the French system was built around Dupont. Like you take him out of the team and your whole system sort of falls apart a little bit. So it's not so much that he's, an amazing player, which he is, but the system was built for him and the way they play. Like France don't kick off 10, they kick off 9. So it puts a lot more pressure on your number 9 when you take out the guy that's meant to do that all the time and you put in someone like Luku or Ligarek or Saron, whoever they end up picking as their second 9. I think when you have someone of such importance to that team put back in, I think things will be a bit freer flowing, and I think you'll see a much
of course. France will be a lot better. Like, I'm not expecting them to lose by about 30 points once again. But I'm just saying, like, I can't sit here and think all of a sudden Ireland's going to lose 2 games at home and place third, for instance. I just think that they're still a quality team, very well drilled. Yeah, they got another head coach, right? But he's been in the coaching staff the whole time. Like, they understand exactly what's expected of them. I think they'll be hungry. You know how they are when they play in Ireland, getting the crowd going and everything. Jake, what's your thoughts on Ireland? Obviously, the expectation has to be to win it again. Like, if you're defending champions, you have to defend it.
I think they'll win. I think they'll win the Six Nations again. Very boring answer, but I think they'll go 3 in a row. I agree completely with what you say. Like, Simon Easterby's been there the whole time. It's just going to continue most of the stuff we already do. And you have to remember, I think Ireland, it's not me complaining, but they do have an advantage in the fact that most of their players play for Leinster. So unlike maybe England or France, where their players have to come from lots of different clubs and re-gel, they're just pretty much going from one camp to another altogether, straight into it. So at the start of the Six Nations, they're usually stronger than the likes of England and France, who would probably favour them playing them later on in the tournament.
Yeah, but that's also good for the Six Nations. You don't want to see that as the first game, and like, let's say last season where it was like, okay, that felt like the decider literally in the first weekend. So we're getting it in week 4 out of the 5, which is brilliant. Anyway, we spoke about France. We brought up France. Let's actually talk about them. Like, what would their expectation be again, Aidan?
I mean, I think their expectation is
they struggled last season.
They did. I think, obviously, with most of the teams in the Six Nation, your expectation is to win it. That's the fans' expectation. The likes of Dupont and Intermac coming back is huge for them. Obviously, Dupont's only won Six Nations, and for someone of his quality, and people like to talk about how good he is, he's only won 1 major trophy in an international sport. He'd probably like to add a few more to his locker, and I think this is probably the year that he's most likely to do it.
So you got them to do it?
I do. I think, other than my want for England to win, Jake, I think my brain says
just looking for some KFC again.
Exactly. Hey, I can want England to win. I'll be supporting for England, which is something I don't usually do. But
I'll just play devil's advocate, right? This is the same French team, except for you add Dupont and Intermark that should have lost to Scotland, that should have lost to Italy, that did lose to Ireland, and England pulled them really close in that final game. So you're just thinking this is a new look French team that'll go and do it?
No, I don't. I think I was watching. I'm going to steal some content from another podcast. The guys were talking on for the Love of Rugby. They had Squid Rugby on, and they were talking about how last year's Six Nations almost felt like a hangover for the French rugby team from the World Cup. They've just crashed out of their own World Cup at the quarterfinal stage when they were probably one of the favourites to win it. And then it sort of just carried over into 2024. They've not played their best rugby. Yet when we come to the end of the year, Autumn Nations, they were probably the best team other than South Africa in the Autumn Nations in terms of how good they were. Obviously, they beat New Zealand at home. Ireland weren't able to do that. I just think they're building and have built really well with both top 14 teams in the Champions Cup, how they came off the back of the Autumn Nations, and leading in with their main players back. I just think they're going to look a little different to last year, even though we did not see the best out of them in 2024. Yeah,
if you look at their top 14 teams, they've been crazy good. 2 out of the 3 best teams in the world, Toulouse and Bordeaux, stacked with French guys. They're on form. So yeah, I was just playing a bit of devil's advocate. I do believe France will be absolutely brilliant this Six Nations. I just back Ireland to do it for their fixture, which is home ground advantage. That's just purely what I can go on, because I feel like this fixture can go either way. So I'm just backing home ground advantage, playing it a bit boring, playing it a little bit safe.
I see it. Sorry, I sort of see a world where Ireland beat England at home, but then lose to France at home, but then France lose to England when they go and play England at Twickenham. That's the sort of situation I see, where they all lose one and it's points differential. And then I reckon the team that messes it up is Scotland, because they'll get a random win over somebody.
France loves going to England. They beat them 50-love the previous time they met at Twickenham.
That's the first win they've had there for a while, though.
I'm just saying how
rugby heritage now. If you put 50 on a team, that's rugby heritage.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you want to say that? Are you sure you want to say that, Casual? Because I remember a certain team put 57 on you one time in Auckland.
Yeah, and it became rugby heritage because you absolutely whacked us for a good few years until we had the mastermind Rusty coming back in. So yeah, I can say that's rugby heritage, but you didn't come to our house and do that. Imagine traveling to another team, right, and putting 57 points on them. That is wow. Yeah. So, Jake, what do you think about France?
What, as a country or as a team?
Well, not as a country.
I don't know. I agree with your points completely. I don't know. If people really said underestimated France after last year's Six Nations, and now after the autumn, everyone's, I want to say, overestimating France a little bit. I mean, they got some key guys out, like likes of Flamont, I think, is out. Olivon is out. Penno is out in the first week. I don't know if that's going to go any longer. It's only Wales, though, so it should be fine. But so anyway, I think they only beat you lot, New Zealand, by a point or whatever at home, and then England lost in the last minutes and could have won that by a point. So it's not a massive level in any of these.
Very fair.
Off points differential, Ireland are the worst out of the 3 here.
There you go. They're just scum. But anyway, if we think about it, I think people. I think it's the style of play, because they're a bit like the All Blacks. When they score, some of their scores are just incredible. And Ireland and England, even South Africa, aren't really going to do that in the big games, whereas France and New Zealand do sometimes pull something magical. But I think if you really look at it, they are beatable. They have a lot of power as well, which is a good thing. But I don't know. I think there's some weak positions. Lock is a weakness for them, I think.
Because Flamont's out.
Yeah, Flamont's out. I don't see Woki in the squad. They got Mayafu. I mean, he looks good for Toulouse. He didn't impress me much in the last Six Nations. I think you've got the likes of, if for Ireland, in the Ireland game, Tyburn and McCarthy and Ryan, I think they can cause a lot of trouble there.
Yeah, I mean, Mayafu's been exceptional, though, for Toulouse this year. Players in 2 of the games. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know how long Flamont's out for, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's also
Jake, I'll just give you the floor again. Does England have any chance of beating Scotland? Do you have the chance to get the Calcutta Cup back? Because there's no way in hell that you're winning the Six Nations. Like, don't even start.
Absolutely. The Calcutta Cup, I would say we're favourites. I don't know if you probably don't remember the game.
How many years in a row have you been favourites?
All of them.
Seriously, I don't know if you can remember the game 2 years ago at Twickenham, but that's a Van der Merwe try where he goes through like worst try I've ever seen conceded from England. But anyway, the actual game, we were winning with 10 minutes to go. And again, it seemed like game management really cost us in that game. And I think with Tupelotu out and like Scott Cummings out for Scotland, and another key position for lock where I think England are quite strong. I think we should win at home. I do. Tupelotu is a massive loss.
Yeah. Okay, well, in seriousness, do you believe you could cause some upsets over the likes of Ireland and France to actually...
Okay.
Of
course we can. I'll say France, Ireland first. I don't know. It took Ireland a cheating red card 2 years ago in the Six Nations to beat us. Otherwise, we would have won. So who knows? Who knows? We might be able to win that game. And you know what? England-Ireland games are always, I don't want to jinx myself, but they're always pretty close and pretty hard-fought games. So I think...
Were the English and French games also always pretty close?
Well, it wasn't 2 years ago.
No, that's what I'm asking. Like, before that, was it always close?
No, not so. England were the more dominant team in the 10 years before that, honestly. But, obviously, we got France at home, which should help. But I don't know.
No.
They got the quality. They got the quality to win the Six Nations. It's whether they get the coaching tactics right and games management.
Exactly. I fully agree with you. Like, I think player for player, like England has got some of the best players in the world. You look at that Blues trio of them, right? There's like 8 of them, quality players that probably play for most countries, right? Like, I really do rate the English team. Mario Torje captain. Finally, you don't have 12 captains and vice captains all over the pitch. But I just don't rate Borthwick. I feel like there's a lot of favoritism in his stuff. Like, I spoke to Divan on Saffers Unscripted, right? And he mentioned that Henry Pollock has already been dropped out of the squad again because Alex Mitchell is fit. Like, why would you drop probably the most on-form youngster in your team out of the squad? Like, make it make sense.
He's been dropped to play for the under-20s against Ireland on Friday night. So that's what they're doing. It's probably going to make it hard if you look better if England win the under-20s again. Pollock's an established player now. But even though he's pretty established, he's still not going to play against Ireland in Dublin. Like, it's not going to happen. It's going to be, probably Tom Curry or Ben Earl.
My bad. I thought he was dropped out of the squad completely.
Yeah, he's gone to the under-20s to this round.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But my point is anyway, like, is George Ford fit? Is he in the squad?
Yes.
If he touches the field, you already know it's favoritism. Like, seriously.
I'm not having this. He beat Ireland last year. And yes, his
are we choosing people based on what happened a year ago? He didn't beat Ireland. Marcus Smith drop goal got it done for you in the end.
Marcus Smith came on for the last 15 minutes and
Marcus
played very
Smith
well.
has to be your 10. Marcus Smith has to be your 10. Finn Smith has to be on your bench.
I agree, but I'm not having a go if Ford comes off the bench. He's not coming back straight from injury and playing the All Blacks like last time, where he missed the kick, which Marcus Smith would have also missed. But there we go.
Yeah,
I would like Smith to start, but I don't mind Ford being
obviously. But the issue wasn't that he missed the kick. It's the issue was that you took off your base player and put on George Ford.
Again, that's not George Ford's problem. That's a Borthwick problem. Which
I just said
it makes sense. It is a sensible decision to make, and people are only saying this because of hindsight, because of how it went.
No. In my opinion, Borthwick, choose Marcus Smith as your 10, Finn Smith on the bench. I'd put Freddie Stewart, who's on form at 15. Like, if he goes anything other than that, he's wrong. Aiden, what's your thoughts on England?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you just said. As much as I've slated Freddie Stewart all the time, he's been brilliant this year. He's been exceptional. He's improved a lot of areas of his game, which I think he's lacked in the past. But England as a whole, I mean, I've said it. I think they have the best 10 in world rugby right now. So Marcus Smith, obviously, not George Ford or any of the others. I think Marcus Smith is the best 10.
Explain. You think they have the best team in world rugby?
10. Best 10.
Okay.
Best
I
first
was
five.
just about to say, don't offend me.
No, they don't have the best team in world rugby. They have the best 10. Sorry, my New Zealand accent. I think Marcus Smith is the best going at the moment. I don't think we're in a particularly strong period of first fives, but of the ones we've got, I think he's better than Finn Russell. I think he's better than Finn Smith, George Ford, Roman Intermac, both the Irish fellas that everyone's complaining about. Better than those guys. He's the reason you stayed in any of the games in the Autumn Nations, really.
He ran the show, basically.
Yeah. Everyone else sort of fell apart around him, and he was brilliant the whole time. So, I think if he can continue to produce that magic and the team holds together, your last 10-minute woes in England are dreadful. I don't know if that's tiredness from the rush defense. We've obviously had a big talk about this in the past. If it's tactics problems, if it's, substitution problems, something's got to change. But I think if they all work around Marcus Smith and he keeps producing what he has been producing, they can sneak some upsets.
Yeah. Jake, do you have a sneaky feeling that we might see Marcus Smith at 15?
I hope not. But with George Furbank out injured, yes. Yes, I do.
If George Ford starts at 10 and Marcus Smith's at 15, you're getting 50 points put on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, him being at 15 is why we lost to Australia. He had a great 75 minutes, but then he's not 15. He doesn't have the defensive positional awareness to play 15.
No, and he's too small, right? Like, he can't be a threat under that high ball, especially against the likes of the French, who kick the most in world rugby.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Scotland. What? Bro, I swear I hear this every year. This could be Scotland's year. Oh. This could be Scotland. It's the same thing over and over again. It's like people talking about Leinster. This could be Leinster's year. You're going to do the double. Could find.
Mate, don't insult Leinster.
No, I'm just taking the piss with Leinster. I'm still buttered that we lost on Saturday, but losing Tuipulotu, best player, also your captain. Mm-hmm. My issue with Scotland, where I just feel that they'll come short, is the depth and the quality on the bench. If you look at Ireland, England, France, the quality that they can bring off the bench, I just feel like Scotland can't match that. Their first 15, quality, right? They've got quality there. But the guys on the bench, I just don't know. It doesn't fill me with confidence, especially with Tuipulotu out now as well, who's a massive player for them.
It's always fun, listening to the Scottish hope before every tournament because,
they've won the Calcutta Cup 6 years in a row, so you can't slander them.
No, but it doesn't matter. You just know it's never going to happen, and it's wonderful to hear because they get so excited for it, and I love it. But
Jake, let me just get this right. So you find joy in them not winning the tournament but beating you and keeping the Calcutta Cup?
No, of course not. And but that's their biggest fixture of the year.
Go Pete.
We see it as like a warm up for another big game. But anyway,
Aidan, do you hear this? Right. So they celebrate their victories against New Zealand in a semi-final, and they celebrate almost beating South Africa in a semi-final, and they celebrate a team not winning the Six Nations that beats them. Like, what do you think about the mentality that Jake has around this whole thing?
It's just a bit of a salty fan at some points, isn't it? I think it's just being English. I think this is the reason why a lot of people dislike them. Most of the world, every British colony, which there's a lot of them, it turns out. It's crazy that you brought a sport to all these countries and now they're better at that sport than you are. That's crazy. It's like teaching someone how to do something and then they get better at it than you.
Yeah.
Well, who's not better? Scotland, because they never won the damn thing. So let's get back onto that.
Yeah, continue going. Go.
It's just watching. It's like, I don't know. It's like watching a young child think I'm going to grow up and live out all my dreams, and they never do. They always fail, and it's just a hilarious thing to see. You know, they get their hopes up, and it's never going to happen.
Wow. Okay, Jake.
I'm watching the Scottish people write on social media, and now I get to see it on TikTok because there's a few of them say this could be Scotland's year. And I'm just thinking it's going to go like it does every single year. You're going to end up third or fourth, but I'm going to enjoy it as it happens.
Okay, well, do they retain the Calcutta Cup?
No. I said earlier I don't think so.
Okay,
no,
fair enough. Aiden, we just mentioned it's going to be tough for Scotland. Do you kind of tend to agree, or do you think they could just get something out of it?
I think they still have the chance to, you know, upset one of the big teams, maybe, you know, one of the home games that they have, which I think is only Ireland that they have of the big nations at home. But
you reckon they can get it over France, seeing what happened last season? Don't you think that could put some fire in their belly to get it over the line this time?
I think with the likes of France, and I think the Scotland team recent history has been really good defensively, but that is realistically down to players like Tuipulotu, who runs both their offense and defense. Like he does a lot in that back line, and he takes a lot of pressure off Finn Russell, which makes Finn Russell look brilliant, which is great. You take him out of the mix, and that's a whole lot of weight on Finn Russell's shoulders. There's a whole lot of weight on the rest of the defense. And against a team like France, who, as Jake said earlier, can just score tries from anywhere, I think they're going to struggle a little bit more. I think Tuipulotu is a huge loss. And
who'll take that 12 jersey?
I saw it earlier. I've forgotten his name.
McDowell?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Or they could do Redpath or Chris Harris at Gloucester. They've got a few options. They can move things about.
Yeah, Tom Jordan can sometimes play 12 as well. But it's...
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some class players. Obviously, Glasgow's been doing really well, but we saw when Glasgow played Quins without Tuipulotu, it was their worst game of the season. Yeah. They looked rubbish.
Yeah.
I would like to say, you know, in the last 4 years, except for last year, but they had home advantage. In the 3 years prior...
they lost to Italy as well, by the way, last season.
I was about to say, in 3 years prior, I think the Calcutta Cup has been the first round of the Six Nations. So... they've always, I think Scotland slightly benefit from being based in one or two teams, so it's easier to merge, and they've not got any injuries. They're all their strongest players, and they've not got the downfall of having a shit result before and having to bounce back. They've always been on a high in some of them. So, you know, they've got to go away to Twickenham after playing Ireland, where hopefully they get smashed. And let's see if they can come and do it, because they're mouthy every year. So let's see them, you know, retain it one more time.
That's an elaborate excuse there, Jake.
You can feel the hatred, right? That's why it's one of rugby's greatest rivalries. England, Scotland.
Can I just say they're
England, Wales as well.
They're down the pecking order. They are
Scotland.
Yeah, they're just annoying because they're moany and they've won a few. But Wales, Ireland, Wales, and France are all higher, 100%.
Speaking of Wales.
I've got a wild prediction with Wales. I've got them to win one game, right? They'll still place last. But the win is not against Italy.
Yeah,
I've got them to pull off one upset. Whether it's Scotland, England, probably not the other two, but I've got them to somehow win one, because I can't see them going winless 2 years in a row. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team with absolutely nothing to lose. You know, they can't get any lower. Your record can't get worse.
Didn't they pull England close anyway last year in the Six Nations?
Yeah, it was pretty close, yeah.
I just think that their play style fits them nicely against the team of England.
Yeah,
Jack Morgan masterclass.
I'm just looking at the squad. Talk, Aiden, talk.
Aiden, are you going with the basic? Aiden, are you going with the basic one that Wales don't win a game?
No, I reckon they get a win. Whether that's Italy or someone else is to be seen. But yeah, I don't want to keep slagging. It's like beating a dead horse, if you keep saying they're going to lose.
Beating a dead sheep.
Yeah, beating a dead sheep. And Wales are a rugby nation with a lot of history, and I want them to get better. It's kind of like they're the new Australia, right? Like Australia was down in the dumps, and now they have some exciting players, and they're playing kind of cool. Maybe Wales can make that jump too. Who knows? But I'd like to see them get a win. So let's say yes. Win.
I can honestly see that win being against us.
I agree. I just didn't want to say it out loud. I just think the playstyles clash nicely.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what round they got us. It's the final round. So it's going to be the final round. I don't know if that helps Wales or England, but it's in Wales. It's in Cardiff.
I think that helps England a bit more. I think England will have more to play for.
Depends. Yeah, if England are in the hunt to actually win the Six Nations with the last game, helps England. If England are already like in third and they can't improve, then it helps Wales.
The funny thing about Wales is obviously I wouldn't say their backs are the best, and they're probably the worst, passing the ball. But they always have the roof over, and it's always dry. So it's always going to help the away team, I think. You want to let that rain in, I'd have thought. But anyway,
yeah.
I think
Gatland hasn't done himself any favours by not choosing some of his best players. So make it make sense.
They've not picked Gareth Anscombe, who's probably their best 10. They've not picked Jared Evans, who's also a great 10 at Harlequins. No Max Llewellyn, who's the top try scorer in the Premiership, or was. No, Rio Dyer. But they do have some good players. They brought back, Josh Adams is fit again.
Is Cam Winnett there?
Williams. Huh?
Is Cam Winnett there? Because I saw him playing for Cardiff.
No, he didn't get in.
What? It's just... Oh...
But they do have a strong back row. They've got to see Rafael Wainwright, Jack Morgan, and the return of Talupe Faletau, who world class.
How about they just get the return of Louis Rizamet, seeing that he doesn't have a contract with the NFL anymore?
He'll be back next year. But
yeah. Do you think he goes back to Gloucester?
No, he goes to Racing, 100%. The Racing signing.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, do we all have Wales to place last?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that leaves Italy. I reckon Italy plays second last still. They beat Wales, but they will pull a couple of games very close. Like the confidence that they would have taken from that All Blacks performance, I thought they were very, very good in that game. The confidence that they would take from beating Scotland last season, should have beat France. They played all right against England, I guess. But it feels like a different team. I know we say that every year as well, but if it glues nicely, I'm here for it.
New coach. I don't know how long he's been in the fray now. Obviously, Italy. Yeah. What's that?
Did you ask how long he's been there?
Yeah.
He's been there a year. Started this time last year.
This time last year. So obviously, it was new in the last Six Nations. He's got a year under his belt now. Success from Benetton in Champions Cup, that's going to give them a bit of a boost as well to those Italian players playing there.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of a wave that those players can be riding at the moment. So I think, if they can string a few good performances together, as you said, Casual, they'll probably push a few teams close, beat Wales. I could see them beating Scotland as well. So I sort of see them in that fifth, or potentially have a decent season and nudge up to fourth.
Let's do official predictions, right? We'll wrap it up on that.
Oh, I want to talk more about Italy.
Go talk about Italy. There you go.
Because I think their first game was against Scotland, which away in Murrayfield, which is winnable. And 2 years ago, they pushed them to the last minute, and then the score flipped because Van der Merwe scored a length of the pitch drive. But it is winnable to beat Scotland away in Scotland for Italy. And then they have Wales at home. So they could get 2 wins out of 2, potentially. But I think they're going to only get 1 win this year, personally. But that doesn't mean it's a step back. It's not disaster because, they had such a good year last year. 2 steps forward, 1 back is still 1 forward. So I think if you're watching the Champions Cup, as Aidan said, a lot of these players look like they're maturing. You've got the Canones that are really strong, and Lamero, and you got Garbisi and
Do
Lucchese.
you feel confident going up against Italy at Twickenham?
Oh, what?
Do you feel confident going up against Italy at Twickenham?
No. No, because I know what we're like. 2 years ago.
Do you feel confident going up against anyone?
Yeah, because I know. Like 2 years ago, I was so confident that I bought a ticket because I just wanted to see England win. That's how dire position we were in. And now I'm not so confident, and I think that's more testament to the Italian team's progress, and I think they're maturing as players.
Yeah. I don't want to keep on going back to England, but it's like they've got this weird thing where it feels like they can beat anyone, but they can also lose to absolutely anyone. Like it's like how worse the team is, they drop their level to that. And if the team's good, they raise their level to that again.
We're basically like the international Harlequins, but play shit rugby.
Yeah, because they have a shit coach. Let's do our official predictions. I'll go first. I've got Ireland to win it, France in second, England in third. I switched it around. I'm going Italy in fourth, Scotland in fifth, Wales in sixth.
Aiden, you go.
I'm gonna be different because I just don't see them winning it. I'm going France first. I just think we'll get that rock paper scissors sort of win. So I reckon it'll come down to like points difference or bonus points and stuff. So France first. Do I want to say?
He's not going to do it.
I'm going to say England second, Ireland third.
Look at him pumping his fist again for second place. I told you it's a shambles.
I'm going to go Italy 4, Scotland 5, Wales 6. So France, England, Ireland, Italy, Scotland, Wales.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ireland first, France, England. Only because of, England over Scotland. Scotland fourth still. Italy fifth. Wales bottom.
So you've just got a repeat of what happened last season. I think that's how the table ended last season as well, didn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, people, if you're still watching, thank you. But we are done now. Enjoy your evening. Please do remember to like and subscribe. We do appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
Debate us in the comments. Come at me.
I'll only debate.